So today we're going to talk about the value of school recycling, what's going on in school recycling in North Carolina. Trina's done a survey for us, so we're going to hear about what other people are doing, and how those schools have implemented it, and what you can do at your school, and then lots of the resources that we have available. So school recycling can create community norms. It teaches responsibility and environmental stewardship. And this is actually something that is required of schools to teach those behaviors. It provides hands-on learning experiences. Kids learn best by doing it. And it makes a difference in waste reduction. So schools can actually recycle about 2 pounds of material per student per year. We just got that figure from the surveys that we did. So if you know how many kids are in your school system or in your school, you can estimate how much you should be recycling per year. So in 2001, a litter law was passed that actually included some school recycling information or policies. They don't really have a lot of enforcement. It just says, Section 11 says that the State Board of Ed actually needs to report about school recycling. So if you're with the actual school system, you probably get a report from DPPEA each year that says, please fill this out. You fill it out, you send it back. And then that report goes to the General Assembly with this litter law report that they do. And then they amended it a little bit to add Section 12 that really just says we should all be encouraging recycling in public schools. Local boards of education should encourage it and may develop and implement recycling programs. So pretty weak, but at least it's in there. They do talk about it every year. This is a graph from Wake County that actually shows the composition. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can see by volume, paper is the main component in a waste stream, and by weight, food waste is the main component. So it all depends on how you're measuring that. But hopefully, if you're not already collecting paper in your schools, we can work with you today to make sure that that happens, because that's the low-hanging fruit. So Trina did a survey for us last summer. Some of you may have responded to her survey, but she's going to go over this, and it's going to give you a snapshot of what's going on in North Carolina with various schools.
Okay, so some of you got it. Last fall, the Division of Pollution Prevention sent out a survey to school officials and local government officials about school recycling operations. We got back 31 usable surveys, so the response rate was about 16%. And those surveys represented a total of 1,004 elementary, middle, and high schools in North Carolina. So of these schools, 77% reported having a recycling program at all their schools. That could mean that they recycled 1 material or they recycled 10 materials, so it varied a lot. Only 1 of our survey respondents didn't have any recycling program at its schools, and the remaining respondents reported having recycling programs at some, but not all of the schools within their district. According to the survey results, the party responsible for coordinating the school recycling program varied widely. Most frequently, school employees were the ones responsible for coordinating the program. And as you can see, multiple organizations often share in the task of providing the actual recycling collection. And there are a lot of ways, the survey didn't even capture all of them, but a lot of ways to combine forces so that more than one party is helping out with that. And the 10% up there is the other, so there's ways that I did not provide for in designing the surveys too. So moving on to the financial impact of school recycling, the survey respondents were asked, does collection of recyclables result in a net increase or decrease of costs? And 43% of respondents didn't know, but of those who did know, 28% reported a decrease in costs, 13% reported an increase, and 16% reported neither an increase or a decrease. Respondents were also asked whether the school received any money for the sale of recyclables. 77% of respondents reported that they didn't get any revenues from recyclables. Only 10% received some, and 6% didn't know. This table shows the different kinds of materials that are collected for recycling in North Carolina schools. And I'll just talk about a couple of them. One material that could possibly generate funds for schools is aluminum. And a lot of the 84% of schools that collected aluminum also reported receiving revenues for the sale of recyclables. Another interesting one is motor oil, which is illegal to dispose of in a landfill, and oil filters and plastic bottles, which will be illegal in a few years. But only 29% of respondents reported recycling motor oil or filters. So how do the schools actually collect their recycling? They most often reported using a combination of bins, as you can imagine. 29% use 14 to 18 gallon bins, and this one is from Winston-Salem. 58% report using 32 to 96 gallon roll carts, like this one from Wake County. 55% report using 48 cubic yard dumpsters, like Mecklenburg's here. 13% use 20 to 30 cubic yard roll-offs, and this is the city of Conover, if you can read that. And 26% use something else. This is Iredell County's can trailer. So how frequently schools collect recycling varied a lot too. Recycling is collected weekly at 29% of school programs, bi-weekly at 16%, monthly at 10%, and on an as-needed basis at 19%. The remaining 29% have programs that varied either by the school or by the material. So this is where that 2 pounds per student per year figure came from, and keep in mind that this is counting schools that recycle one material and counting schools that recycle 10. So I don't think it's necessarily, this is probably the minimum that a school can achieve. But it's just an average taken from these numbers. So this was from only, I can't remember the exact percent, but not all schools were able to provide this data. So this isn't from all of the survey respondents, but about 11 tons of recyclables were collected per school per year for those schools that reported that data. And then based on the number of students at those schools, we came up with 2 pounds of materials per student per year. So one thing that's always important in a recycling program is convenience, and over 50% of respondents reported having a recycling bin in every classroom, which would certainly make it convenient for the students. And as shown, this is a table that shows how recycling responsibilities and training are divided up. The green line shows who actually received training on school recycling procedures, and then the blue line shows who's actually responsible for taking the recycling out and emptying the bins.